Hi everyone. I'd like to make a few arguments against ethnocentrism from an Islamic perspective. Muslims argue against ethnocentrism as a philosophy because it is irrational. It demeans human value and it demeans Islam as a religion. Ethnocentrism, by definition, is evaluating other peoples and cultures according to the standard of their own culture. It is belief in some sort of God given intrinsic superiority of the nation, culture, or group which one belongs, most likely, often accompanied by feelings of prejudice and discrimination and dislike for other groups. Ethnocentrisms and the ethnocentric individual believes that they are better than other individuals for reasons based solely on heritage. Truly and clearly, this is practice is related to the problem of both racism and prejudice. It was William Sumner, one of the first American scholars to coin the word ethnocentrism. His concept was based on a philosophy to fight against imperialism, of which he thought ethnocentrism was the foundation. He thought that ethnocentrism, this prejudiced way of looking at the world, gave birth to a political system that sought to dominate the world. And he was right. Further, his concept of the philosophy was the same concept as we have today. It is an attitude of superiority concerning one's own group in comparisons to others, of which he was against. He considered it as a serious obstacle for the natural order of human progress, and he was right. Eurocentrism is the same idea that the central paradigm of a worldview is based on the European exceptionalism, on Western civilization as it is developing in its height during the European colonial empires since the early modern period. Eurocentrism is a practice of believing the world and thinking of the world from a European perspective and will apply this belief philosophically, socially, and politically. And thinking of the European culture is preeminent. It is also the case in thinking of Afrocentrism. Afrocentrism is a response to this European model. However, like Eurocentricity, the philosophy is exclusive in its focus. Now, Islam and Muslim scholars argue against ethnocentrism as a philosophy because it creates irrational notions of reality and improper human identity. And it creates improper human identity. It was Dr. Ismail al-Faruqi, a Muslim scholar, who wrote, Al-Tawheed, an Islamic philosophy, affirms that God created man in the best forms to the end of worshiping and serving God, the human form in relationship to the Creator. It is written in the Holy Quran, he goes on to state in his book, where God says, Allah says, I have created humanity that they serve me. I have only created humanity that they serve me. This verse establishes man's reason for being, his greatest identity, That is to say that there is no greater identity than to be in service to God. Therefore, and thereafter, we address the need of humanity. Human thought and actions is to discover truth and therefore create value in society. Al-Tawhid then reaffirms humanity's responsibility to perfect and to refine oneself as the standard for human thought and actions to the end of the greater good. Al-Tawhid condemns notion of innate God-given superiority without positive ethical and moral action. If you do nothing, you can't expect to be something. You cannot expect to be morally right because you're white or morally wrong because you're black. This is not the case according to Islam. Islam regards all humanity, human beings alike. And Allah, God, is repeatedly reminding humanity in the Quran, we have created you all from one pair, all from dust. Higher among you is he who is greater in righteousness and knowledge. The Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace be with the Prophet, said no difference between an Arab or non-Arab can exist except by one's righteousness. Dr. Ismail El-Farouki wrote, man stands in no predicament for which he needs a savior or needs to be saved from being human. With divine guidance, he or she is able to achieve by the quality of their efforts. Human identity, therefore, is based on merit for the sake of reality, the greater good, for the sake of God, not race, not gender, not nationality. Racism is haram, therefore, in Islam, against the ethical, moral principles of the religion. The Ummah, the Muslim community, is the social order in Islam, and it is universal, available to all of humanity as potential members, without coercion. The Holy Quran condemns forcing religion on anyone. Allah extends his religion based on reason and reason alone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, the Holy Quran says, let there be no compulsion in religion. Truth stands out clear from error. Whoever rejects evil and believes in Allah has grasped the most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. And Allah hears and knows all things. Allah is the protector of those who have faith. For in the depths of darkness, he will lead them forth to the light. Of those who reject faith, however, the patron are the evil ones. From the light, they will lead the human soul forth into darkness, the depths of darkness, and they will be companions of the fire to dwell therein forever. According to the Muslim scholar El-Farouki, Islam recognizes the natural grouping of families, tribes, nations as God-created, God-ordained arrangements, but rejects such groups as definitive of humanity as constituting an ethical, moral criterion of good and evil. Because you have a particular skin color does not make you necessarily ethically good or morally good or evil. In most cases, the Quran thinks of the human being as innocent until he acts. O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and female, and made you into nations and tribes that you may know each other, not that you despise each other. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is he who is the most righteous of you. And Allah has full knowledge and is well acquainted with all things. It is Dr. El Faruqi again who writes, above all humanity, above all humans, individuals as well as groups, stands moral ethical law. No skin color, a natural law existing requiring rigorous thought and quality actions. Human diversity is a fact. However, diversity is not moral law. When human exclusiveness becomes ethnocentrism, Islam condemns it as shirk, kufar, one who is outside of the religious tradition, because it implies that we are setting up another source of law from good and evil other than Allah. El-Tawheed means one God, Lord of all of creation. His law is one and the same for everyone. He has no favorites. He makes no exceptions. In my summary, Ummah is the social order in Islam and stands as other religions as the best example against ethnocentrism, racism. The Ummah is not restricted to any race. It is transracial and regards all of humanity as one. Islam regards ethnocentrism as gravely as it does because favoritism is an attack on the very transcendence of God. For God is the ultimate reality, God is the ultimate judge, and the ultimate principle. God is the ultimate criterion and source of all. His stance versus all of creation must be one and the same. Finally, Muslims argue against ethnocentrism as a rejection of reality. And that is to say, Islam supports ethical, moral value and human identity based on merit. Thanks a lot, everyone. I hope to see you next time. All the best.